Today on How It's Made. Filigree glass. We promise not to glaze over this fruitful item. Fish food. Tuna in for some school dinners. But we won't carp on about it. And motorhomes. One way to live your life in the fast lane with your feet up. But first, filigree glass is a highly advanced form of glassmaking. Threads of coloured glass are woven together into intricate patterns before they're encased within clear crystal. Then, using complex glassmaking techniques, these pattern rods are turned into breathtaking works of art. The filigree glass technique was invented in the 1500s by master glassmakers in Murano, Italy. They incorporated ancient methods from Mesopotamia, the birthplace of glassmaking some 2,000 years earlier. It all begins with a blend of mostly silica sand, soda ash and lime. They heat the mix to 1,300 degrees Celsius, melting it over several hours into lead-free liquid crystal. With a steel rod called a punty, the glassmakers roll some molten crystal on a metal table before it cools and solidifies, a shaping technique known as marvering. Then they use the post they've shaped to pick up a piece of densely coloured glass called a color bar. They melt the colour on the end of the crystal post. At the same time, they heat another colour bar into a molten state. Then they perform a process called overlaying. They push the molten coloured glass over the other coloured bar, then marver until the coloured glass symmetrically encases it. They encase the colour in clear crystal and reheat some more. Then prepare a new piece of clear crystal on another punty. They use it to grab the free end of the colour overlay. The glassmakers pull, stretching the crystal, like toffee, into what's known as an overlaid cane, a thin rod of crystal with a thread of coloured glass inside. It takes great expertise to stretch the rapidly cooling glass to a consistent diameter without twisting or breaking it in the process. They snip the long cane into manageable lengths. Next, they cut the coloured rods into the size required. Lay out the rods in a precise configuration. Heat, then roll them into a precisely sized piece of molten clear crystal. Now they repeat the pulling process, but this time to create the internal pattern they want, they twist both punties. They use an electric drill to ensure steady, uniform revolutions. The rod this creates is called a complex cane. After it cools and stabilizes overnight, they cut it into lengths that they need to create the filigree glass piece. The colors and pattern inside a complex cane are determined by the choice and layout of the overlaid cane rods. The filigree pattern is now determined by how they lay out the complex cane rods. After fusing the laid out rods, they wrap them around a collar of hot crystal at the end of a blowpipe. While rolling the piece on a glass blowing bench, they use a scissor-like tool called jacks to close off the end. They snip off the excess with shears. Then they roll the hot glass on a wet wooden block to smooth and round the bubble. They blow in some air to produce the shape of a pear. Stick a punty to the bottom of the pear, then use cold tweezers to shock the hot glass into breaking along the separation line and transfer off the blowpipe. Now they take some hot crystal from the furnace and roll it in a fine granulated coloured glass. They reheat to melt the colour into the crystal. Then attach a bit of glass to the top of the pear to form into a stem. They smooth the edge with a small torch. They take another bit of molten coloured crystal to shape a leaf. This crimping tool imprints the veins. Every filigree piece these master glassmakers create is signed with a piece of cane bearing their initials. They fuse it to the piece in a discrete location. Now the finishing touches. Reheating, then some shape tweaking with tools and wet newspaper. With the artist's work done, it's time to enjoy the fruits of their labour. Now that is a lovely pair. Flake foods for aquarium fish were invented in the middle of the last century. Before they came along, fish fanciers had to collect live food from rivers and streams to feed their pet fish. Now, though, all that's required is a quick trip to the cupboard. The invention of flake and other dried foods made life in a fish tank a whole lot easier. Just a few sprinkles and dinner is served. It's not much like the live water fleas or bloodworms the fish would feed on in their natural environment, but it contains the nutrients and vitamins they need. These dried titbits can be supersized to appeal to larger fish that prefer to munch on something a bit more substantial. Each formulation consists of up to 40 different ingredients. The main components are fish meal, wheat flour, soya and paprika oils. They also add food colorant because fish are drawn to certain colors. They follow a precise recipe and measure the ingredients carefully. They blend the smaller components together first. They include lecithin, a blending and thickening agent, and calcium for bone strength. The main ingredients, the fish meal, flours and oils, are piped from silos into big tanks and mixed with hot water. They add the smaller premix and blend everything together to produce a thick slurry. They spray the slurry onto the surface of a series of rolling heated drums. As it flows over these drums, the slurry cooks and dries into a thin film that's like a paper sheet. As the sheet rolls off, a long rotating blade chops it up to produce big flakes. They're pretty chunky at this point and will need to be broken up into bite-sized versions. Next, they fall down a chute and into a plastic bag. A worker transfers them by the bagful to the next conveyor. The various colours represent the different formulations. The green are veggie flakes, while the red are protein-based. They all head into a spiralling device known as the tumbler. It spins and tosses the flakes around. This mixes and breaks them into smaller flakes. After several minutes in the tumbler, the flakes fall onto a series of screens to grade them by size: small, medium, and large. They land in separate bins, now mixed and sorted by size. Meanwhile, the production of fish food sticks is underway. Machinery presses the mashed food through small holes of an extruder plate to create spaghetti-like strings. As the strings exit, rotating knives cut them into sticks. The sticks dry and solidify. A worker routinely examines them for size and form. The next worker wheels a hopper full of flakes above a chute and removes the trapdoor. The mix falls down one floor into the packaging line. At the same time, a column of empty cans heads towards the flakes. The fish food flakes fall through special openings that funnel them into the cans. Machinery cuts out aluminium foil caps and slaps them on top of the containers. Hot circular irons then seal the caps to the cans. This conveyor belt is also a computerized scale, which keeps track of the amount of food in the cans. The devices spin to twist the plastic lids onto the threaded rims of the cans. As the cans pass by on a carousel, applicators press glue-backed product labels onto them. And these fish food flakes are finished. In its various concoctions, dried fish food offers a range of feeding options. Some contain additives that enhance the growth and colour of the fish. Others are geared to a fish's specific tastes. Right. What's for tea, boys? What did we have yesterday? Okay. Coming up, motorhomes. Wherever you may roam, quite literally, you can take you home. See you after the break. A motorhome is a fully equipped house on wheels. The Class A types are shaped like a bus. The largest models more than 12 metres long and spacious enough to sleep up to 6 people. When parked, the exterior room walls slide out, expanding the width by more than a metre. Motorhomes have driver and passenger seats at the front, and in the back, the essentials of a small house: kitchen, bedroom, living room and bathroom. The factory buys a ready-made standard-length steel chassis from an automotive supplier, with the motor and other components already installed. They then lengthen the chassis by cutting each side and welding on an extension piece. They also extend the pre-installed exhaust system and electrical wiring. Then they weld on steel plates to reinforce the splices in the chassis. Next, they lower the steel basement frame, which has compartments for the water supply, waste collection and storage. Before installing the frame, they attach 3 pairs of sliding hydraulic cylinders, called rams. Each pair operates a slide-out room at the push of a button. After bolting the frame to the chassis, they spray each welded joint with an anti-rust coating. Then they test the rams to make sure they slide in and out properly. They lower the pre-assembled steel cab structure onto the basement frame and weld it to the chassis. The motorhome's front end is made of fiberglass, with the bumper and headlights built in. Workers connect the headlights to the electrical system, then attach the front end to the cab structure. Then they install the bonnet and make the necessary adjustments. Next, they load up the compartments in the basement structure, starting with the fresh water tank, made of durable white plastic. Water runs from this tank through flexible plastic pipes to the sinks, showers and toilets. Next, the drainage line for the sewer waste. It runs to a plastic tank that's grey to differentiate it from the water tank. Now they run a line of heavy-duty adhesive along the steel grid of the basement structure and set down the motorhome's floor. The floor construction is like a sandwich: aluminium on the bottom, plywood on the top, with a high-density hard foam in the middle to muffle noise and absorb road vibration. After securing the glued floor with screws, they staple the carpet underlay onto the plywood. Except in the kitchen and bathroom areas, where they lay down vinyl or ceramic tile flooring and cut holes in it for the heating grates and drains. Then they install carpet over the underlay. The pieces are pre-cut to the motorhome's layout. Now workers hook up what they've built so far to a chain mechanism that tows down an assembly line. First, overhead lifts lower the motorhome's 3 slide-out rooms, dining, living and bedroom, onto their respective rams. Workers bolt the rooms to the rams, then test them. Next, workers install the bathroom cabinets, plumbing and wiring. Then the motorhome gets its 3 remaining walls. They're fiberglass on the outside, decorative panelling on the inside, with a foam and aluminium structural frame in between. The back wall has a luggage compartment accessible from the outside of the vehicle. Like the headlights on the front end, the vehicle's tail lights are integrated. The roof structure is the same as the walls. It has electrical wiring built in and cutouts for ceiling lights and air conditioning vents. The inner structural frames of the roof and walls interlock. A line of screws running the length of the roof secures the connection. A generous application of sealant to attach the front end with its built-in clearance lights. And the first stage is complete. At this point, there's still much interior work to come. Everything on the inside is designed to maximize living space and storage space. And even though the motorhome has just 1 bedroom, pull-out beds in other areas add additional sleeping space. One of the last jobs remaining on the outside is to install the door. It fits perfectly because they constructed it using the piece they cut out of the sidewall to make the door opening. Next, some decorative detailing on the vehicle body, including an adhesive vinyl transfer bearing the model name. On the inside, workers are busy applying the finishing touches. They hang cabinet doors, install under-cabinet lighting, and hook up the kitchen appliances. The oven is a special compact size, manufactured specifically for recreational vehicles. Customers buying motorhomes have a choice of window coverings. This order calls for double-duty roller blinds. One setting filters daylight, the other blacks it out. The installer uses a gauge to adjust the blinds to the correct tension. Then she installs decorative valances to hide the edges and pull cords. In the cab, workers bolt the base of the driver and passenger seats to the basement frame. Then they bolt a seatbelt receiver to each seat base. The seats, upholstered in high-end synthetic leather, attached to their respective bases. Workers install the dining area, which sits in one of the slide-out rooms. The bench seats have storage underneath, and the seats and table convert into an extra bed. At the rear of the motorhome is the bedroom, which is the second slide-out room. The bed has storage space underneath for blankets and pillows. Regulations designate certain seats safe to sit in while the vehicle is moving. Those seats are equipped with safety belts. The couch in the living room, the third slide-out room, has a few hidden features. An air mattress which inflates and deflates at the push of a button for an extra bed, and a drawer underneath for storing pillows and blankets. The bathroom is fitted with a toilet, a sink, a shower, and plenty of cabinet storage space. Back on the outside, workers install a rear-view camera on each sidewall. When the driver activates the right turn signal, the right side camera automatically turns on. The left turn signal, the left camera. The cameras transmit the image to a dashboard monitor. Every motorhome this factory produces undergoes extensive testing. Here, Hundreds of sprayers shoot simulated heavy rainfall from all angles, including underneath. With the slide-out rooms both extended and retracted, inspectors check everywhere, even inside the cabinets. If they find any leaks, they seal them and run the water test again. And finally, one last mechanical verification of the slide-out rooms, now that they bear the additional weight of the furnishings. This expansion feature is the secret to the motorhome's spacious feel, as it increases the floor space width by nearly 1.5 meters. The slide-outs operate only while the motorhome is parked. With smart design and ingenious use of limited space, a motorhome lets you hit the road without leaving the comforts of your home behind.
A strange knocking sound could be the elusive Squatch tonight at 9 in brand new Finding Bigfoot. Then at 10 on Discovery, Robin Williams explores what happens to your body on drugs in brand new Curiosity.